Welcome to Bear Archery's Hunting 101 podcast, where hunters new and old come to learn and find inspiration from stories of hunts gone by. Everyone is welcome to enjoy the outdoor way of life, and there is no better time to start than right now. So let's head into the great outdoors with your host, Dylan Ray.
Welcome to Bear Archery's Hunting 101 podcast, as always, presented by our good friends over at ScentLok. ScentLok, in my opinion, is just an all-around toolkit for bow hunters. No matter what you're hunting, where you're hunting, ScentLok will have you covered. So I would highly recommend you to go check out ScentLok. Their activated carbon technology for maximum odor absorption really is what makes them stand out, especially for whitetail hunting. So go check out ScentLok and their toolkit, especially the BE1 series, the Bowhunter Elite series. It is absolutely phenomenal. Got a special guest on the phone, Mr. Tony. Let me get this right. Burlison. Is that right?
You got it.
Got it. Tony, how you doing, man?
Doing good up here in snowy Montana.
Yeah, well, at least you're not in Tornado, Kansas. You know what I mean?
I know, right? At least I can't pick up my house and throw it away.
You know, last Friday, they put out this, these big announcements saying tornadoes are coming, be prepared. Didn't hit our town, wiped a town about 10 miles from us, and, devastating, of course. And a lot of us went over to help and lend a hand. And then last night they said, hey, get ready because it will hit your town tonight.
Wow.
Nothing ever, it did come, but it developed right on the other side of us. And, again, they were saying, listen, there's no chance you're getting out of it this time. It will hit you. And we hunkered down and nothing ever happened. So tornado season is crazy.
Feeling.
It is, man. But I'm also of the opinion, like, if I can see it, I'm okay. Like, just like with snakes, man, everybody's like freaks out about snakes. And I'm like, well, if I see a snake, then I have nothing to worry about. If I can see the tornado, then I just don't go in that area. You know what I mean?
Right. At least you can like move a snake out of your yard. I don't think you can do that with a tornado,
Yeah. Dude, I did have so I walked into my bow cave, my man cave, and I saw something move across my floor, and I'm like, what in the heck was that? And it was a snake. And I'm like, oh crap. And so by the time I went and got some grabbers to get it, I come back and it had crawled into my camo closet. And so I was like, well, this sucks. Now we've got a snake that's just in a closet full of camo. And so I'm literally pulling out jackets one by one and like shaking them and moving them and finally found him. But I'm like, you couldn't have picked a worse place to go for me,
right,
other than a camo closet.
Yeah. Snake was smart.
Yeah. No, but I do have a friend, and he videoed the whole tornado that hit the town over, and somebody's like, what were you doing, man? He's like, what do you mean? I could see the direction it was going, and I just ran parallel with it, and I had nothing to worry about.
Right.
I was safe. It wasn't coming towards me. So yeah, I'm kind of that opinion, but tornadoes are so unpredictable. I mean, they'll do anything in a matter of seconds. You know what I mean?
Right.
Man,
yeah.
We got off track
already.
Tony, give me an introduction to yourself, man. What do you do? How'd you get there? Give me the background to Dark Timber, all the good stuff.
Yeah. So, my history in coffee started about 20 years ago. I've been a coffee roaster pretty much that whole time. I started off in Seattle, Washington. That's where I'm from. Born and raised there until we moved everything over to Montana about 3 years ago. I used to own cafes and roasteries and pretty much the downtown Seattle area for a long time.
A lot of coffee history there.
A lot of coffee, right? Yeah, I know a lot of the guys. They're friends of mine that are kind of pillars in the coffee industry, kind of the forefathers of it. So it's pretty neat. Yeah. I was the director coffee master roaster for a large Seattle company for about 11 years after I sold my company. And then after that, I started Dark Timber, and that was in 2017 is when that happened. So about 5 years ago, actually 5 years tomorrow, I believe.
Very cool, man. No, I was first introduced. See, it's funny because I'm a coffee snob. like my wife makes fun of me because, most outdoors rednecks, backwoods hillbillies are like, throw it in the Mr. Coffee and, you've got Folgers. And I'll have friends
Right.
come over and I'm like, what do you want? Would you like a pour over? Would you like a French press? Would you like an AeroPress?
Sounds like my kitchen.
Yeah. What would you like? I mean, would you like an Americano? Would you like what would you like?
Right.
And my wife kind of makes fun of me for that, but I'm kind of a coffee connoisseur.
Okay.
And it was probably 2019. I was on a hunt with the guys from SNS Archery, and I was like, what am I gonna do about coffee? Like, I literally called and asked. I'm like, what do I do for
Mhm.
coffee, man? Like, I don't go without coffee, and I don't go without good coffee. Like, I ain't doing the instant crap,
Mhm.
And he's like, don't worry, we got you. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm not putting my coffee trust in your hands yet. You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean you got me? And he just said 2 words, dark timber. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Nice.
What are you talking about, bro?
Was that
And
spec or what?
no, it was oh my Lord, Rob.
Oh
But
yeah,
I
Rob.
did see
Rob
I
super.
did see Steve at ATA, and I'm not kidding you. Not at ATA. They were at Portland, the Portland show.
Yeah.
And straight up during the show, they were pouring gravity packs, and I'm like, that's what
Yeah,
I'm talking
man.
about. Like, there's
Yeah.
free coffee right there, but you're doing this. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, those guys are rad. We love those guys.
Yeah, they straight up had their burners and everything making
Mhm.
making coffee.
Yeah, we were just with them at if they were at Oregon, they had just left us at
Correct.
on Expo in Salt Lake.
Yeah, correct. Yep,
Yeah.
that's what he was telling me. And I asked him, I was like, "So where's Rob at, man?" He's like, "Well, somebody has to work."
Yeah. Someone's got to open the front door.
Yeah, no kidding. But yeah, that was the first experience ever running I had with dark timber. And then I told him they're in Portland. I'm like, man, listen, dude, I know the coffee's free over here, but I need a good cup of coffee. And so he hooked me up with a cup at Portland, and so I've been wanting to have you on, man, because I believe that for a lot of hunters, and this sounds kind of cliche because again, I know that most uh, outdoorsy rednecks. My dad, I mean, he's a throw it in the Mr. Coffee and whatever was on sale at Walmart. But coffee is a large part of what we do. Like if we're going on a duck hunt, we wake up to make coffee early enough to make coffee. If we're going on an elk hunt, we prepare, in the backpack. All these sort of things. Coffee plays a big role in it. And so I kind of wanted to know your vision. Like, where'd this come from? Where'd this stem from, Dark Timber?
Yeah, that's a good question. Being in the specialty coffee industry for so long, meaning that like third wave style cafes, um, you know, and sort of that whole thing. It wasn't. I mean, even though it was like a competition barista and I did all those things, right? It wasn't really like who I was as a person, right? And I was super big into the outdoors, super big into like steelhead fishing. I was a straight steelhead bum, super big into hunting. And I was like, you know what? Like, I want to start a company that is a direct reflection of myself and my interests, and focus on that outdoor hunting, fishing, just outdoor crowd, right? And there wasn't anything in this space. There was nothing. Like, so when we launched and we got into it, we were the first ones to do it. And because what I postulate is like, these are quote unquote like blood sports, right? They are, right? So there's a lot of companies that will shy away from that aspect of it, right? So they're not even going to like market to the outdoor industry in terms of hunting and fishing. They're not going to go there, and we were willing to go there, right? Because that's who we were, and that's kind of what dark timber is.
It's funny that you say that because I worked as a barista for a bit, and it was incredibly comical because these people would be coming in, and you're serving middle-aged women in the middle of the day, and
Right.
you just live this whole different lifestyle. And then it's like, hey, I'm gonna bolt out early because turkey season just opened. I'm gonna go blow the head off a turkey, And they're like, what? What are you
Yeah.
talking about? And I'm like, what do you mean? It's turkey season. Like, and I did that for a while. It's one of my favorite jobs ever. But like you said, it's almost like a line in the sand of being this different person at work as you are, you know, the rest of the
Yeah.
week. I mean, I wasn't going to talk about, I wasn't going to say, here's your coffee. Hey, did you get out and shoot any deer this week? You know, I mean, that just wasn't,
Right.
it didn't coexist. And so, it's really cool, man, that you saw that opportunity as, hey, this is my job and this is how I make money, but this is my passion and I want to combine the two.
Yeah. The beauty about it is they're both my passions, right?
Yeah.
Like, like coffee for me isn't an occupation, right?
Right.
This is something that I've done my entire adult life.
Yeah.
I started when I was 19 and I'm almost 40. You know, I get it. So it was just such a natural thing to kind of blend the two together. And I get what you're saying about like reading your customer or reading the employee next to you on what you can say to them. And I always took the opportunity, when I was with my last company, and we had over 100 employees, and I would always take the opportunity to kind of explain that side, like hunting or whatever, and sort of give that first touch of it with our employees. And what was really surprising to me is, if you explained it in the right way, how receptive they were to the idea.
Yeah. I, one time, it was a funny story. I thought I had read this person correctly, and I was so far off, it wasn't funny. Like, I was like, man, I love to hunt, dude. That's my passion. That's what I do, you know. And I went in depth. I'm like, yeah, bow hunting, whitetail hunting. I love it, man. Spring bear hunting. I love bears, all this stuff. And they were like, I'm a vegetarian. And I'm like, very cool. My bad, dude.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I read this situation all wrong.
Right. Right. And there's definitely going to be some of those, right, who are just the diehard, vegetarian activist kind of person, right? But then we would have, vegetarians or whatever that saw, the procuring your own meat side of the thing as a more of a like respectable way to do it, right? So it was kind of cool in that aspect to see like them being receptive to the idea, not
Right.
just calling you like a murderer or something.
Now, why is it that you think, and this is a loaded question, and we could certainly go down a rabbit hole on it, but hunters never speak out against vegetarians. I mean, you never see us lashing out, how could you eat plants, or you're an idiot for not eating meat. We never are the pursuer. You know what I mean?
Right.
So why is it that you feel vegetarians take such a strong stance on it? And it's
I
it's
think it's
almost
they're both living things, right? I
right.
don't know, there's sentient things, there, if you boil it down to like just like killing something, you both do the same thing, right? You kill a plant, kill an animal. If that plant bled, it'd be a total different story, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't, right? So now they feel that maybe they can get on a soapbox and lecture you about it because you've killed something that had a heartbeat, right?
Right.
So I think that's just when it boils down to it, that's the only distinction between the two.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that, but it's almost like, and again, we could get down a deep, deep rabbit hole here, but and people always laugh when I say this. I'm by no means calling vegetarians atheists, but it's almost the same, with Christians and atheists. Is Christians are never the pursuer. We never push the atheists. It's same with heaven forbid if we get political, but it's definitely never the same as Republicans. I mean, Republicans we never lash out because you're not a Republican. You're a Democrat. I mean, it's always the Democrat pushing against the Republican. It's always the atheist pushing against the Christian. And again, I'm by no means equating that if you're a vegetarian, you're the same as an atheist or I've just always found that interesting. That we seem to be as hunters who are the big bad killers. When it comes to the arguing, we're the more meek ones, and maybe that's why we get taken over so much. Maybe that's why we're losing our rights left and right. But I've always found that interesting that we're the big bad killers, but yet you're the one that's calling me all these bad names, and you're the one that is threatening my life, and you're the one that, I mean, it's always comical to me.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that, right? On why they feel the need to do that. I don't know, if vegetarians outnumber hunters in numbers, but it might be because they're a minority in a way,
Right.
and minorities tend to be louder, right? Because it's such a smaller group, so they feel like
Yeah.
maybe they need to speak up louder and draw a heavier line in the sand. So
Certainly makes sense.
yeah, but I don't know. I don't really have a definitive answer to that question, but
Right. Before we move on, let me give a quick thank you to our friends. Another deep love of mine that came from that hunt with Rob was Co-Optics. I give him a call and I'm like, dude, I need to know, I need a spotting scope and I don't know what to get, why to get it, how to get it. And he's like, dude, just try this Koa 77. He's like, you can use it for the hunt, whatever. And I'm like, cool, man. And so we get done with the hunt, we go back down to the store, and I was like, dude, you better just ring me up for that because I'm never looking anywhere else. And I've not looked through any glass other than Koa since. In my opinion, they are the finest spotting scopes on planet Earth. I know all of our friends over there at S&S agree. They're the ones that push me to them. So guys, I would highly recommend you, if you're in the need for any binoculars or spotting scopes, to go check out Koa Optics because they are absolutely phenomenal. You Are you a big spring bear hunter?
yeah, I was just out yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, before the snow hit.
So I didn't know Montana had spring bear. That
Yeah, we have an OTC spring bear season.
really, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. There's only what, 5 states that do?
Uh, I- I couldn't answer that. I only know of two states that have an over-the-counter spring bear tag, and that's Idaho and Montana.
Very cool. Yeah, I bears have become an addiction of mine. Like I absolutely love chasing bears. And it's to my demise. I grew up in Arkansas, and I grew up in an area in Arkansas where there are bears and there are bear hunting. And it never even crossed my mind, dude. Like never even considered bear hunting. Out of sight, out of mind. Never even thought about it. And I think it was like the first year I moved to college. So the first year I was away from home, I'm like, I want to go on a bear hunt. Where can I go? And I'm like Googling where to bear hunt at. And they're like Northwest Arkansas. And I'm like, crap. I could have been bear hunting all along, like my whole life. And I
Yeah,
never even considered it. Now I live in Kansas. And so now I got to travel to bear hunt.
right.
But no, I've absolutely become obsessed with it, man.
Yeah, dude, it's super fun. I try to do it every year. Last year I was super picky. Didn't shoot a bear, but the rest of our crew did, and they shot some dandy ones. I mean, they shot some really big ones. I was out yesterday and actually ran into a grizz.
Really?
Crazy, yeah.
That's pretty
I
rare.
didn't expect it to be there. I didn't even think there was grizz in that spot, but yeah, he's about 120 yards away.
Anything come of it, or just he went his way, you went
No,
your way?
I was walking this old road, and I actually went up in the snow, right? So there's like probably like a foot and a half, 2 feet of snow up there. And I know that up there's some windswept hillsides that green up super quick. A lot of people will think, oh, there's too much snow up there, but if you actually get in there, there's some good areas in there. So I'm trying to get in, and I cut this bear track on the road, and it's just kind of like walking down the road. And at first I thought it was like, because it was like melted out, but the snow was super rotten and like melting really quick. So, it had to be from like that morning.
Right.
And so at first I thought it was like snowshoe, and I was like, no, that's just a big bear. So I was following it, and about 120 yards ahead of me, after I've been following it for about, I don't know, half a mile or whatever, the thing came up out of a creek bed. And, it was, my wind was blowing straight to it. It didn't even care. It just kind of like got back on the road and kept going. And I was like, all right, I'm going to wait till it gets out of sight, and I'm going to go over this ridge.
When they don't care, that's when it's scary.
That's what really freaked me out, man. It just didn't really care. Usually they'll get a big nosy or out of there, but
Yeah.
I don't know if his nose doesn't work or something. I don't know. But I didn't want to stay there.
Now, bear, were you bow hunting or gun hunting?
Oh no, I had my gun with me. Yeah, if he would have turned around, it would have been a different story. But
Right. Now, that's one thing. Like, we went on this hunt all week long. And me and Rob, I mean, we put in miles, dude. And let me tell you something. Rob blew me away on the mountain. Like, he's got, I'm not going to speak his age, but he's got a couple generations on me. No.
Mhm.
And dude was running past me on the mountain, killing me.
He's got Idaho lungs, man. You got Kansas lungs.
Oh, Lord have mercy, dude. I was dying. So, anyways,
Yeah.
we chase these bears all stinking week long, and we go back and we're sitting around the store and I'm trying on some packs and looking at a couple things around and Steve was like, well, why didn't you take a gun? And I'm like, because I'm a bow hunter, dude. And he's like, well, the success rate's like 2% with a bow. And I'm like,
Yeah, that's being
well,
generous.
yeah, I'm like, well, thanks for telling me that now, you idiots. Like,
Yeah.
I just spent, 10 days chasing them around, and yeah, it was an incredible experience, and I wouldn't have changed it for nothing. The only sizable bear we ever saw had cubs, so
Yeah.
but it was a ton of fun, man.
Dude, bear hunting, we really look forward to it because it's like, we're like stuck inside for the most part all winter. Not
Oh yeah,
inside. I mean, I'm just saying that as like phrase, but like there's nothing really to do. It's like our rivers are froze over a lot of times, and it's just kind of ice and snow for 7 months.
yeah,
So when that spring season rolls around, it's such a great opportunity to get out there and
right.
get the hills again carrying your rifle. And,
You're coming out of hibernation too.
yeah, right. That's what it feels like, man. So, and you get to like, it's a mixed bag. So we'll do like shed hunting, spring bear hunting at the same time, right? And that's in April, late April, early May. You're kind of sheds and bears, and then mid May to first week and a half of June is like straight bears.
Yeah. So do you prefer, eating wise? Do you prefer spring bears or fall bears?
Well, I mean, I don't. I couldn't really tell you that there's a huge difference. Um, if you want to like utilize their fat,
Definitely
right?
fall.
Like if you wanted to like use it for shortening or like render it down and just have it around and
Yeah,
use
if
it.
you're going Clay Newcomb, you got to hunt them in the fall.
Yeah, I mean, you just get that fall bear fat, and then they've had all spring, most of the summer to like fatten up, and they're. I wouldn't say they're better eating really, but I mean they've got more fat on them for sure. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
not going to leave a big giant chunk of bear fat on my steak. You know what I mean? So
right.
I
Walk me
don't see a
through
difference in like marbling or anything.
walk me through your pack. And we don't have to go super in depth, but as far as spring bear hunting, what does your pack look like?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Tonight we're going to be recording more pack dump videos, spring bear pack dump videos. So, but this time of year I use the XO K3 4800. I use that pack a lot, but I have a ton of packs. Like I have like 3 Kafarus. I have a Stone Glacier on the way. XO. The XO pack is super comfortable though. So typically, what I'm gonna carry with me for spring bear is we do day hunts for them. So this time of year we don't really like get into the back country. One, there's too much snow, and two, like the front faces or the fronts are usually where all your grass is, right? And that's where your bears are, right? They're hitting grass. So all of our packs are day packs. So we've got rain gear, obviously, because weather can turn in an instant, right? And I usually bring a Sitka Cloudburst set. So I have the jacket and the pants. And then you always want to bring your insulation gear. So I have the Grumman jacket from Stone Glacier that I take with me, which is super toasty. It can kind of sweat you out sometimes. And then, you've got your typical stuff like game bags, snacks, water. I use 6 a.m. Gears game bags. If you guys haven't seen their stuff, check it out.
They're phenomenal.
Yeah, those guys. Tristan's awesome. Good friend of mine. And then for optics, right now I'm running the Vortex Razor HD 12x50s. So I use the 12x50s because I like obviously the magnification, and I like to use them on a tripod. right? And it's just 10 by 42s just really don't do it for me in terms of magnification on a tripod. So in lieu of like a spotting scope, I don't want to bring a spotting scope. I want to have my binos have that little extra oomph to them. And, really for the money, your Vortex glass, like that HD, the UHD, you're going to get a lot for your money with that glass. So I really like that stuff. I've been using it for years. Like most of my stuff on all my rifles is all Vortex glass. My binos, my spotting scopes. So that's what I use for my binos. And then for a spotter, we'll take a spotter because we like to do, like footage.
Right.
Most of the times, you don't really need to use a spotting scope for bears, right? Because they stick out like a sore thumb on the hillside, right? You're just like, oh, there's a bear, but we'll use spotting scopes with the phone scope, just so we can get scope footage, and especially with bears, the shot placement, you want to know exactly where you hit them, so that helps a lot. So I'll bring my Razor, my Vortex Razor HD 85 millimeter is what I bring. And then I have a Surrey tripod with a, what head's on there? I forget the head that I'm running right now, but yeah, it's kind of a heavy setup, but it's super nice, super sturdy. You want about a little bit heavier for that 85 millimeter, because it's such a big spotting scope. And then, for knives, I'm running the Tito knives, just to change out. You can change out the blades on them.
Yeah.
It's super easy. So there's no like sharpening or anything. With bears, you're doing a lot of skinning. So
Right. I mentioned Koa, and I tell people this all the time. I'm like, you know what? If you're not gonna drop $3,500 for a spotter, which I understand is crazy, definitely go Vortex, because Vortex's warranty system is crazy, like insanely.
Yeah, I just got a box in today from the warranty.
Insane, dude. I mean,
it took
how
like
can
5 days there and back.
I don't know how they do it, man. I really don't know how a company can do it. So yeah, I mean, Vortex is great. You didn't. We got to talk about your marketing opportunities here. You didn't even say coffee.
Yeah, dude, it markets itself. I don't have to say anything really.
I love it.
Yeah.
So for real though, question: do you go gravity packs or do you go, the instant? Do you go? What do you go?
Well, man, it all depends. Like if for like ease of use, right? Like strictly ease of use, we mostly will grab the Ascent packs, which are like a full immersion pillow pack style, because you can make those in your jet boil, right? Whereas like a gravity pack, you've got to like what's called decanting, right? So you've got to pour the water and it's got to go into something, right? Which means you have to bring a secondary cup. With the Ascent packs and the vapor packs, you can just make them right in your jet boil. So then you just drink out of your jet boil when you're done and rinse it out and you're good to go. So you're like shaving a little bit of weight there.
Now, just so everybody knows what we're talking about, the vapor packs are like instant powder. Like probably what a lot of you are familiar with.
Yep.
Gravity packs. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, they're coffee solubles, right?
Gotcha.
So you just add water.
Gravity packs are for, if you guys know, it's basically a pour over that's ready to go. Does that explain it well? I mean, is that how you explain it?
Yeah. So I mean, that's really what it is. So if you can think of like drip coffee, right, which is what's called gravity coffee, right? Gravity's pulling the water through the coffee and then down into your carafe, right? Or in this case, your cup. So if you can think of like drip coffee, but on a small scale, like a single cup, small scale, which is a pour over, right? So basically, yeah, I mean, it's just a single cup pour over system. And, you don't have to like take it with you. Like you can kick the coffee out if you want, ball it up, put it back in the package, stick it in your pack, or you can actually bury the filter like toilet paper and it's biodegradable. It'll biodegrade.
Now, in terms of not ease, what's your best backcountry coffee? Like if you want the best cup of coffee.
Great. Yeah.
Which one did you say?
Oh, I said, are you speaking in terms of like which blend or like which platform?
which platform? Like, which is Gravity Packs, Ascent, or Vapor going to make the best coffee?
They all three of them do, right? So if you think about it as bases, right, each one covers a base, right? So you have your gravity style coffee, which is like your drip style coffee. So if you're more inclined to like that drip style coffee, the gravity pack's for you. I mean, like that is the product for you. If you like a coffee that's more like a French press, right, which is what's called a full immersion coffee, the coffee is in the water steeping, right? And you're going to have some sediments in there, right? You're going to have more of that French press cup profile, right?
Gritty.
If you're a big fan of that, then that product's for you, right? Now, if you're a strictly ease of use, don't really care, I just want coffee immediately, I don't really care about the preparation style, that's our vapor packs, right? Those are super easy. The nice thing about the vapor pack too is like it doesn't have to be hot. Like you can make them in cold water if you wanted to because you're rehydrating coffee solubles, right? You're not having to have a temperature of water that's at brew temperature to be able to extract all those solubles like you would with a gravity pack or an ascent pack. The vapor pack is just ready to go. The solubles have already been extracted. You're just, reconstituting them in a way.
Right. Before we move on, one more thank you to our friends over at Boning. It is what I consider arrow building season. You can see behind me, I've got like a line of arrows right here. Those are wrapped. These have been veined. It is arrow building season. I'm building 24 arrows right now for my recurve. And guys, if you are into building your own arrows, I would highly recommend you check out Boning for all of your components, for your nocks and your wraps and your veins. Check out Boning, and for all the tools, for all the fletching jigs. If you're into, cresting your own arrows, all of that stuff, go check out Boning because they are a one-stop shop for components and tools to build your own arrows. Go check them out. And they have some incredible Fred Bear branded products, which doesn't hurt. Tony, what's your biggest spring bear hunting tip? Like if you were to say you've never spring bear hunted before, one tip, put it in your back pocket, it'll make you more successful. What would it be?
Don't force it. That is the biggest tip that I've learned is you don't force spring bear hunts. So like when the season first opens, right, everybody's chomping at the bit to get out, right? It's April, right? Especially like out of staters, right? They're going to want to go spring bear hunting and they're like, oh, it's April. What I should go maybe hunt at that time because the season's open. And what I've learned with bears is they're a very simple creature, right? Like, especially spring bears, they're super predictable, right? Find all the food, the salad, the fresh grass, right? Perfect hillsides, water, cover. That's it. That's all they need. And when I was first starting the spring bear hunt, I was constantly forcing it, right? I was putting in all this effort and there's just tons of effort into very slim probabilities, right? Because of tons of snow, the bears really aren't out, they just, they're just not out in numbers. It's the farthest point away from the rut, right? That early, April, mid-April time frame. So once I started to just slow down a little bit and then not focus on that early part of the season, our spring bear hunting just boom, it just exploded in terms of how many bears we were seeing and just how successful each and every trip was for us.
Yeah, and that's with anything, man. I think that people so overcomplicate hunting. As far as where to look and where to go and where to chase them. And I'm like, animals need the same three things that we need. They need food, they need water, and they need shelter. And at any given time, one of those three things will become more prevalent. So if you think about it, if a bear is just coming out of hibernation, what does it need the most of? Well, it's got to replenish all of its fat stores and food stores. So it's going to be in the food more. Same with whitetail rut. I had one guy, and he was a national champion strongman, and he was getting into hunting, and he's like, well, where do I hunt at? Like what areas do I find to find deer? and it was post rut. He was asking me this in December, and I'm like, man, what do you do when you get done with a huge competition? And he was like, dude, I run and I plow town some food. I take it all down, 7,000 calories, whatever. And I'm like, okay, now a deer has just ran itself ragged in the rut, chasing, running, fighting. Now what is it needed to be doing? He's like, eating. And I'm like, exactly. They're going to start replenishing.
Yep.
But we overcomplicate everything. We're like, well, all I'm not going to make fun of people, but we overcomplicate these things. And if we just think about it in terms of what an animal needs and what it's going to be prioritizing in that time, we'll be more successful.
Oh, for sure. I 100% agree. And with bears, in that early season, they need that food when they're first coming out. And, they're not super heavy yet on the grazing. I mean, their systems haven't worked for months, right?
Right.
They haven't eaten anything, right? Their stomachs are the smallest they're going to ever be. And they've got to like work those things out.
Right.
But, it's what I learned in terms of like what their range is in that early season. So they don't go very far from where they're denned up, right? So they're just going to stay in this sort of circle where they denned up at, whether it was in a tree well or what have you, right? They don't go very far.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I learned. You're on these big sweeping ridges and there's big open spots of grass, but there's still some snow and you're just kind of hoping the bear would show up. But, in reality, they're not moving too far from where they denned up. So, the probability of you seeing one, yeah, you might see one. But if you just waited, and just didn't force that hunt and just waited a little bit longer or a little bit farther into the season, your probability of seeing multiple bears is pretty high.
Yeah, and it goes right back to common sense. Like if somebody is tired and they're getting over an illness and they haven't been out of bed in a week, they're not going to go out and run a mile. Like they're not going to go hit the gym. They're going to start slow. And bears,
Exactly.
as they rebuild that those fat stores and the food stores and the they want to exert as the least amount of energy as humanly
Yep.
possible. And so yeah, man, I love dudes who keep it simple. And what I mean by that is the tips and the tricks and because we live in a culture that we want to overcomplicate everything just so somebody will go, "Oh, they're super smart about hunting. Oh, they know all these things." Well, man, sometimes my roughest whitetail seasons are because I'm overcomplicating everything. Is because I'm overthinking everything. And if I just stop and go, "Wait a minute, you know, we got snowstorms coming in. This is where I need to be at. This is what they're going to be doing." Or wait a minute, I got to change this up, dude. They just got done with rut. I need to be hitting the cornfield, whatever. I don't need everybody to go, wow, you're so smart because you just
Yeah.
keep it simple.
Yeah. I mean, it's hunting, right? I mean, there really is no big secrets.
Right.
There's small advantages, right? But there's no big secrets to it.
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct, man. One thing I also learned is that if you're not finding bears, and this is from my very, very limited knowledge of chasing bears at elevation. But if you're not finding bears, try a complete different elevation. We were sitting at say 10,000, and I don't know how high we were, but say 10,000, and we weren't finding any bears. We dropped down to 7, and all of a sudden, bear, 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 bear. Yeah, you know what I mean. And then you might go up to 8, and there's no bears. You might go down to 6, and there's fewer bears. I mean, just try. If you're not finding bears, try a complete different elevation.
Yeah, a good unit of like measure in terms of where to look is what I tell people is to follow the snow line. Right, as that snow line recedes farther up the mountain, right, the bears follow it.
Follow it,
right, because it's going to green up as it goes up because all that moisture, the snow melt, in the sun. So you're going to get that fresh grass all the way up, and then finally they'll deposit themselves high up. In the alpine areas. But yeah, you're right. So, if you're not finding bears at 9,000 feet, but you drop down to 7, right, and they're all right there, well, why are they there, right? So there might be, at 7,000 feet of elevation, there might be, blueberries or huckleberries, or the grass at that elevation is more developed,
Yeah, absolutely. And for us, it was it was just finding the elevation they were at. The entire time we stayed below the snow line, but it was just simply finding what elevation they were at. And when we found it, now we're in bears.
Mm-hmm.
And so my kid just came in here and gave me his walkie-talkie, and his sisters are screaming in it.
No
Glad to
worries,
see
man.
he's playing with walkie-talkies. But anyways, yeah. So general, I ask all my guests, what's one field note you've taken over the years? Simple trick or tip. Doesn't have to be bear hunting. Doesn't have to be spring bear hunting, that I can take and make myself a better hunter with.
It's a good question. I would say, I mean, it's not really like a tip, but just preparedness. Like if you stay prepared for any hunt that you're going to go on, you're going to be more successful, right? You're going to have the gear that's going to help you out in the field. You're not going to be worried about whatever situation is happening or a piece of gear that you need or you forgot or whatever, you've got it there. So now you can focus on the task at hand, which is, whether it's finding a bull or finding a bear or what have you. So I always try to be, very prepared in my time out in the field, right? Just to help me stay better focused on what I'm doing.
Dude, that from my first spring bear hunt, that right there was the biggest tip I ever could have pulled from that. Because I thought I was in shape, and then you hit, the mountain in Idaho, and you're like, holy crap, I'm the furthest thing from in shape there's ever been.
Yeah.
And, you think you've got good boots, and then you run in Idaho, and you're like, these boots suck.
Yep.
And you think you've got a good pack. You think you've got a good pack, and then, 12 miles in, you're like, this is not a good pack. And you find out all these things, and I'm like, man, like I went home thinking, like, had I been more prepared, which I didn't at that point in my Western hunting career, there was no chance to be more prepared because that was like the first go at it.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, man, when I got home, it was like, all right, what boots do I need? When I got home, it was like, what pack do I need?
Yeah.
Because I went into this thinking like, there's no way I'm dropping $400 on boots. And then
Yeah.
and then your $80 Cabela boots are hurting your feet like no
your
other.
Danner pronghorns.
Yeah, and then you're like, I need some new boots. So that was another love addiction that came from that hunt with Schnees. I've never looked back, which is a Montana company.
Yeah, that's what I had the Timberlines.
Shout out to Montana, man. I'll be in Montana later this year at Mountain Archery Fest. Can't wait.
Oh, nice. Heck yeah, man. That's are they in? They're doing the Montana shoot this year?
Yep, it is at let me pull it up.
Isn't it by Petersburg or something?
No, I don't know. Does Snow Hollow sound right? No.
I think that's near Petersburg, yeah.
I combined two. Shell, Wyoming, Antelope Butte.
Oh, that's over it's over by Billings.
Why did I say Montana? Well, I gave you the Wyoming one. The Montana one is Lakeside, Montana.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm not sure where that's at. Cool, man. Yeah. Maybe we'll be there.
Yeah.
But I want to expound a little bit on that one field note. You can be prepared, but don't be over prepared. I think it's another one. Don't take everything in the kitchen sink, really be prepared for everything, but don't take everything. No Leatherman, stuff like that.
Yeah. So I will say my biggest field note is don't neglect your feet. Because I mentioned the Schnees, and I've just learned that over the years. No matter what I'm hunting, whether I'm sitting in a whitetail stand or whether I'm chasing them around in the mountains or whether I'm pig hunting in Florida, don't neglect your feet. Like put the most consideration as far as clothing. Put the most consideration into your boots and your socks, because if your feet hurt, you're miserable. You ain't hunting hard. You ain't gonna stay as long. You ain't gonna be as successful. You're not gonna be as fast. You're not gonna be as quiet. If you're sitting in a tree stand and your feet are cold, you're not going to stay as long. So just don't neglect your feet. Find you a good pair of boots. I understand good boots are an investment. I know that, but it's an investment well worth making.
No, I 100% agree with that.
And then that was another thing, though, which we won't dive too much into because we're pretty far into this already. But, I was just sitting there. I'm thinking like this whole hunt. I'm like, dude, you guys are high to think that I'm going to drop $600 on a backpack. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing, dude. It's a strap with a bag on the back of it. Like there ain't nothing that's going to do that mine don't do. And it was like day 6 and my back was killing me, dude. And like, I didn't even want to move another inch. And Rob was like, try this pack on real quick. And I'm like, dude, it's still just a backpack. And I put it on. I'm like, oh, that's nice. Like that.
Yeah.
That makes
There's
a world
lot
of difference.
If you looked at it like a backpack against a backpack, right? Backpack's a backpack, but the difference is the technology that goes into, right, and the thought, and just the amount of energy that goes into creating a backpack like that, right? So if you took a crappy pack and you wrote down everything that was wrong with it, right, and took that and built another pack, that's what those packs are.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a reason why they cost that much.
Yeah.
Right. Because everything on that pack has been thought out. Right. Into where the hip belts are and how they ride on your back, and then the stays, do you have a curve back? Do you have a flat back? You can really detail that pack to the person that's going to wear it. Right. And the adjustability, just the fact that having stays, right, or lift loaders on a pack is huge.
Yeah.
Or load lifters.
I can just go ahead and promise you, I don't own the backpack that I took into that hunt anymore. And I didn't for more than a month afterwards. I'm actually running, now I run an Initial Ascent, which
nice.
I really enjoy.
Cool guys.
Yeah. They met those guys at Mountain Archery Fest, and I've got to go to every single Mountain Archery Fest, because Pope and Young does a big dinner at each one. But I met those guys. They're phenomenal dudes, and they sold me on their pack, and I became a believer, and I love them.
Nice, man. Yeah, I don't think I've ever tried on one of their packs, but everybody that's got one that I know really loves it.
Funny story. I don't think this is a testimony to the backpack, but I was on a hunt with it, and I killed this deer, and we throw the pack in, and my buddy went to get his side by side so we could pull the deer out, and I threw the pack in, and he comes back with this little dog. And anyways, we get the deer back up to the lodge or whatever, and I go to get my backpack out, and I'm like, dude, your idiot dog, this was like the first hunt I ever took this backpack on. I'm like, your idiot dog vomited all over my backpack. Like, I'm talking covered this backpack in vomit. And so I was like, well, there's that. So that pack was broken in pretty quick.
Nice.
No, yeah, it was just comical.
I don't know how I'd react to that.
Yeah, you seem like you're a pack junkie. So I don't know that you would. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a lot of them, man. I've got 5 or 6, I would say. I get new ones, and I never get rid of the other ones, so they stack up, right? So you end up having tons of packs. I'm like that with boots, just like gear. I'll get all the Sitka gear, and then I'll try all the other gears, and then I've constantly got gear around. But in terms of pack, I'm kind of a pack junkie.
I feel you. We actually just had a big garage sale, and I went into my man cave, and I was like, I got to get rid of some stuff. I've just got to. And you would never, dude, these dudes would walk in. It was it's called our citywide garage sale.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's having garage sales. And so these dudes had been dragged around to 84 different garage sales by their wives, and they're walking up looking all miserable, and they look over and oh, hunting stuff. Dude, I sold spotting scopes and binoculars and probably 50 different pieces of camo and a pair of boots and Lord, I mean, everything, dude. And it was insane. These dudes were incredibly happy to see hunting stuff at a garage sale.
I think maybe one day I'll sell some stuff. I don't know. It's nice to have all around just to
Oh, it's my favorite thing on planet Earth when somebody comes over and they're like, oh man, it would be so nice to have a pair of binoculars like that. And I'm like, you know what? I've got an extra one. You can have those. Yeah. That's my favorite thing in life right there. Is when somebody needs something and you're like, hey man, I've got extras. You go ahead and take that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do that with packs a lot. People show up and I'm just like, yeah, just go grab a pack, whatever one fits you, let's go. And they're like, really?
What's your address? I'll come over for a visit.
I know, right?
Where can they find Dark Timber at?
Right. Ennis, Montana.
What, tell us about, what town did you say?
Ennis, Montana.
Ennis?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Where can they find you at? Website, social, YouTube?
Website's darktimbercoffee.com. YouTube, we don't have anything up yet. IG is Dark Timber Coffee, and then Facebook, Dark Timber Coffee. But we're more active on Instagram than anything.
Guys, you got to go check them out. I've said it multiple times, made some people mad because I know some coffee shop owners. But I've said it several times, when you can make better coffee in the backcountry than your local coffee shop can make, you're doing something right. So go check out Dark Timber Coffee. It's absolutely phenomenal, and they support conservation. They support you as a hunter. So why in the world would you not support them? Real quick before we go, Three Rivers Archery. Again, I'm in rebuilding season. So my wife is constantly saying, Dylan, why did you spend $400 on Three Rivers? And I'm like, well, babe, I needed this, that, and the other. Go check out Three Rivers Archery. They're your largest one-stop shop for all things traditional. Same-day shipping. They absolutely are the smartest people I've ever met when it comes to traditional archery. So even if you're not going to buy anything, but you've got questions, give them a call. They use the gear, so they know the gear. I call those guys more than anything just to ask them questions if I'm having a problem with a bow tune or something like that. But Three Rivers Archery is an incredible resource for all things traditional archery. Go check them out, threeriversarchery.com. Guys, thank you so much for listening. If you're out spring bear hunting, absolutely send me some success photos. I would love to share in that. If you're out spring turkey hunting, I don't know why you would, because you can go spring bear hunting, but if you're out spring turkey hunting, make sure and send me photos, because I absolutely love to share in your success. Guys, thanks for listening. Y'all have a great week.